unfortunately, I can't take those. That was another real one, right? It's hard to hold this administration. You know, I see push forward. Many people that consider you.
Oh, that's better. Okay. I'm going to call the second meeting of the 14th Undergraduate Senate to order. I will begin with swearing in of our senators-elect. If they could please join me down here. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear.
I, Sky Martinez, do solemnly swear
I will diligently and faithfully
that I will diligently and faithfully
execute the duties and responsibilities
execute the duties and responsibilities
of the office of state your office.
of the office of Citizen and Municipal Public Affairs.
I will abide by the governing documents
I will abide by the governing documents
of the student government,
of the student government,
and I will work to my fullest abilities
and I will work to my fullest abilities
to promote the interests and welfare
to promote the interest and welfare
of the students of American University.
of the students of American University.
Congratulations. All right, Senator Jackson Butler will be added to roll. So let's do roll. Senator Jackson.
Present.
Senator Flores.
Present.
Senator Rodriguez.
Present.
Senator Messias.
Present.
Senator Hayashi. Senator Robbins. Oh yeah, Senator Max Robbins. Senator Newlander.
Yeah.
Senator Jenkins.
Present.
Senator Jacobs.
Present.
Senator Ossip. Senator Adams. Senator Abisakara. I'm going to work on that. Senator Pacheco. Can you spell your last name? Thank you. Senator Perez. Senator Sellinger. Senator Kenna. Senator Zitzman. Senator Menache. Oh, she's here. Senator, is it Geisler? Giesler. Okay. Senator Butler. Senator Luthra. Senator Jacob Robbins.
Present.
All right, quorum is met with 17 thus far. We'll move to the adoption of the agenda. Is there any discussion on the current agenda? This is the time which you can change things, add things, move things around if you so desire. Seeing none, it will be adopted without objection. Moving to the adoption of the minutes, which do not exist currently, so we will move on to public comments. Any member of the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we will move to reports from officers. First to me, and only me. Okay, so a few things. Welcome to your first full actual Senate meeting. We're going to do a couple of things. As you can see on the agenda, we're electing all chairs for the 5 committees, the 5 core committees, and then we're also discussing policy books 1 and 2. The rules of debate and decorum are really your guidelines and your rules that you're going to set as a body that are more specific than the standard code. So take a minute or two to look through them, see if there's anything that you may want changed. We'll debate on any amendments and changes that you want to that. The ethical and judicial standards is a governing document that applies to all of student government that really make sure that it's like a human resources document. It deals with conflict resolution and making sure that we are respecting each other in student government spaces and outside student government spaces, and that we're fostering a safe and inclusive environment for all of us to engage with one another. A couple other things, and I'll reiterate this and go to the order. So everyone that filled out the survey that's sent at the beginning of the week should have access to the office now. If you do not, please let me know. You'll see in there that feel free to use the space however you want, not however you want for work, to hang out. It's your space now too that you have access to it. So please do keep it clean and respect it. We are down a chair as of the last session because it broke. So I'm going to work on getting new chairs, because you'll notice that the blue ones in there are not very good, probably not safe. I'm also working on trying to get, so if you go in there, you'll notice that I had put up last year, I'd got this large white board strip of it's supposed to be a sticker that was supposed to go on the wall. It doesn't stick very well, so we're trying other options. I'm going to see if we can maybe paint a part of the wall like the whiteboard paint, like AUCC does it. That way you guys can draw on it, collaborate on ideas and things like that. Other things, been busy this week doing really all the nitty-gritty stuff, getting your placards, your email set up, your access, getting the committees ready, getting the student government ready for the undergraduate senate, or the 14th session. So it's just been a lot of little bits and pieces. So after this meeting, I will send out a couple things for everyone that attended an orientation session this weekend. You'll get a huge email with all the governing documents that are updated, to my knowledge, to my best knowledge, and legislation templates. You'll also get a draft senator guidebook to help you more specifically in your role, and then also a university contact list to figure out which person in each department you should contact regarding any of your policy ideas. So you'll get a huge email with that if you attended an orientation session. For those that did not attend one, please reach out to me and we can sit down during the week to go over that. Other things, I'll send out a Google form after today's meeting, letting you pick your committees, give your preference for one of the standing committees. You can only serve on one of the 3 standing committees, but you can also serve on the additional special and any ad hoc committees that we may have. I'm going to try my hardest to get your first preference committee, granted that they maintain relatively even numbers between the 3. I'll also send out a doodle poll allowing you to sign up for an office hour this week, or for office hours for just this semester, because we'll change it next semester depending on schedules. Only one office hour cannot be at the same time as another person. So it's a first come, first serve on that email. And we'll have office hours starting this week, and then the 2 weeks after Thanksgiving break. So not too much time, but I want you guys to get situated and familiar with your role as a senator. You can have more office hours if you want, but use the doodle poll only for your one designated office hour, and then feel free to let me know if you're having any more than that. Also, committees, office hours. I think that's it, actually. If you want to talk about additional ad hoc committees, let me know. If you want to talk about commissions or caucuses or just other ideas that you have for the Senate, feel free to let me know. I'm very accessible. Email, phone number, it's in my email signature. Feel free to schedule a meeting with me. It's also in my email signature if you want. If those times don't work, I'm very flexible with that too. Facebook Messenger if you need really anything. Yeah, that's all my updates right now. I'll talk about some other, do some reminders in the good of the order. Questions for me regarding anything? Cool. All right. Moving to new business. First, to policy book 1819-001, student government rules of debate and decorum. Find it. All right. So, as I said before, this really is your governing document and really establishes the rules that you wish to follow, more specifically under the standard code. And that's really it. I can answer questions about the rules of debate and decorum if you have any. If not, we'll move right into debate on it. Debate is open to amendments, discussion on whether or not to pass it in its current form. If things need to be changed, we can talk about that too. That's what debate is going to be for this, and we'll go from there. We'll go from there. So I'll open the floor up to debate now on the rules of debate and decorum. Any senators wishing to speak? Senator Zitzman.
I moved to add the amendment by sending an email. And I'll try to form that up. I will read it to you all so you know what I'm talking about. I want to amend Article 2, Section 1, Subsection 2, where it talks about how we address each other. And the text of what my amendment that Travis might pull up says, Speaker and members of the undergraduate Senate shall refer to other senators using those senators' preferred given names. Members may also optionally be referred to using the title senator. My idea of this is that the student government and especially the undergraduate Senate have a reputation of just being really like dramatic and sort of like pomp and circumstance and all that. And one of the things that I think contributes to that is how we treat ourselves. So instead of like pretending to be a real government, which we're not, I think we should like refer to each other in a professional way, but also just as real people with our names.
Bobby, where is this?
The email I sent you.
No, I got the email, but like
Article 2, Section 1, Subsection 2.
this one about motions, questions, presentation.
It says, Mr. Mrs. Speaker.
In doing so, the chair will be addressed as.
So
Okay.
my amendment strikes that sentence and then pastes what I sent you.
Got it. Is there a second to this amendment?
Second.
I heard a second. Okay. Okay. So now that it is seconded, it is up for discussion. Debate on the amendment and what is in yellow. Senator Zitzman.
I just want to encourage everyone, like, if at any point like this or any other processes, ask for clarification from Trevor, or since this is my amendment, I'm also going to clarify if I have been clear.
Yeah. Really ask any and all questions because this is still a learning process for a lot of people. Seeing no debate, we'll move to vote without objection. All those in favor of adopting what's in yellow, which adds the new text and slashes the old text, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Being the chair, the yeas have it. Therefore, it is adopted. Further discussion on the rules of debate and decorum as a whole. Anything else? Yes, Senator.
Sorry.
No, yeah.
It says that we do votes typically yay, nay, like I don't have time, like just out loud, like, it seems to be that sometimes it's really hard to tell. Sorry, like, is that a problem? Usually, I mean, I don't have experience with it. Like, would people want to change that or no? It's not really an issue.
Senator Adams. Any other points of discussion? Senator Flores?
So, point of inquiry, we can still debate for amendments for the policy book, this particular policy book?
Yeah.
Okay, so then I move to amend Article 2, subsection 1, or Section 1, subsection 3. Line 2 of that, where it says, if questions arise during presentation or debate, the chair, I move to correct the spelling to say the chair.
Can we take that as clerical?
Yeah.
Is there a second to that? Is there an objection?
Second.
Okay, good. Thank you for pointing that out, Sean. Okay, cool. Other points of discussion on the policy book? Seeing none. Without objection, we'll move to vote on the policy book. Hearing no objection. All right. All those in favor of adopting policy book 18-19-001 for the 14th session in its current format, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. And the chair, the ayes have it, and it is adopted. Look at that. Y'all passed your first piece of legislation already. All right, moving to next business item, policy book 18-19-002, ethical and judicial standards. As I said before, this one lays out really just like HR kind of stuff, making sure that we have safe, inclusive, respectful environments within student government and how to resolve conflict if necessary. So I will now open the floor up for debate on this policy book. Senator Zitzman.
I sent you an amendment. So I'll pull it up. I will read it again. I want to add at the end of the first section, it talks about the jurisdiction of the policy book, saying that this policy book has no jurisdiction over individuals who hold no office within student government. Its jurisdiction over individuals who do hold an office in student government shall extend only to those individuals' behavior in previously described spaces and previously described circumstances. That's referring to the first few sentences of this section. And my reasoning for this is because during SG presidential elections, people from each other's campaigns try to file complaints before the judicial board that like some random student who is supporting that campaign did it in a way that violates the ethical judicial standards. And this policy book is only meant to be like for internal SG use, and it's bothersome.
Is there a second? Here a second. Debate on what is in yellow.
The yellows want to be added.
Yeah. Seeing none.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm not sure if it's different for the SG president races, but I know that during like our senator races, there was like a part of like the elections policy book that Eamon talked about was that anyone working in your campaign was still subject to the rules that you had to follow as a candidate. So I just want to know how that plays into this.
Did we determine that any member in the campaign is also subject to the rules? Is that Senator Zitzman?
Yeah, so I worked for the judicial board last year during presidential elections, and I reviewed some complaints. And what they ended up determining last year, but it's not written down in the rules anywhere, is that campaigns and candidates have to follow the governing documents that are listed in the election policy book. And off the top of my head, that's the bylaws and undergraduate senate legislation. It doesn't list this. Now, if we want to have people in campaigns subject to the ethical and judicial standards, that is something that we can entertain, we just have to address the question. The election policy book mentions itself in the bylaws and undergraduate senate legislation.
So will this amendment say that those people working in campaigns would be subject to this?
Yeah, so a specific incident that I am, referring to with this legislation is during last year's presidential election, it was not published in the Eagle in support of Valentina Fernandez, who ended up on the campaign by, some residents, some RAs. And then another campaign brought in the Fernandez campaign, before the J board and says, you RAs can't use your position as an RA and endorsement because that's against the ethical and judicial standards. And I thought it was good to bring these random students who weren't involved in student government for the judicial board. So that's the inspiration for that. If that clarifies the question.
It does.
Yeah, so currently the ethical and judicial standards won't necessarily apply to those running for elections or those involved in those campaign teams unless we add that to the election policy book specifically. Further discussion on what's in yellow? Seeing none, we'll move to vote without objection. All those in favor of adopting what's in yellow, say yay. All those opposed, say nay. In the chair, the yeas have it. This is adopted. All right, moving back to the policy book as a whole. Any discussion or debate on anything within the policy book? Seeing none, we will move to vote without objection. All those in favor of adopting policy book 1819-002 in its current format for the 14th Undergraduate Senate, say yay. Yay. All those opposed, say nay. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and it is adopted. All right. We will now move to the election of chairs for standing and special committees. First, to the Committee on Campus and Student Life. As a reminder, I will open the floor up to nominations. You can nominate someone, then there has to be a second. And if there's a second, then the person who is nominated must also accept that nomination. Once all nominations are done, the floor will close, and then we'll go into candidate speeches and debate and questioning and things like that, just like last week's speaker elections. Questions on moving forward with these elections? Cool. All right. I will now open the floor up for campus and student life nominations. Are there any motions or nominations, I should say? Okay, so you're nominating Senator Hayashi?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
I hear a second. Do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Okay. Are there other nominations? No other nominations? Seeing none, I will close. We'll close the floor. Okay. Floor is now closed. Senator Hayashi, would you like to give a speech?
Yes.
Okay. You have 4 minutes.
Good afternoon, I'm Senator Hayashi. I speak at the discretion of the Speaker and my fellow senators. Good afternoon. I would like to first say thank you to Senator Adams for nominating me as chair for the Committee on Campus and Student Life. And the major focus that I will be looking at is on campus climate. How is the student body at American University reacting to the administration? How are they responding to how we, the undergraduate student government, is making policy, making changes, passing legislation in this undergraduate senate? And I'd like to first state that one of my top priorities is to get dining on this campus fixed. And when we don't have good food, when we don't have good food service on this campus, it really affects all of us. For example, if all of us, if we didn't have dining at all on this campus, or if we had poor dining services at AU, then we wouldn't be happy. We wouldn't have a great time at this university. And I believe that if this undergraduate senate can make changes with the administration, with the university on this specific issue, then we can solve so many problems on this campus. For example, the megabytes issue. When we wait until American University is in the DC local news to respond and to react and to just make a simple change of preventing such situations in the future, I think that's important for this undergraduate senate, and I think it's also important for the administration as a whole. Campus Life, the Vice President of Campus Life and Inclusive Excellence, Dr. Fanta, I'd like to build our relationship as a senate with Dr. And her staff as we move forward to creating a better climate on this campus when it comes to treating the workers with respect and kindness, when it comes to treating each other with the same respect. Because when I see that on the 9/11 Remembrance Day, that that AUSG has created a space where both the CRs and the College Democrats can come together and to remember those who sacrificed their lives on 9/11, I think that it's absolutely appalling to see that we are being partisan about things on this campus. I appreciate the fact that this undergraduate senate is nonpartisan. We're all for a better AU, and I think that as chair of this committee, I will create a better campus climate for all of us at AU. I now yield the rest of my time to the speaker and to the body for questions.
Okay, the rest of the time is yielded to questions. 45 seconds. Okay. Floor is now open to questions. Senator Robbins.
Thank you so much, Curtis. I think you'll serve really wonderfully in this role, given all of your connections. I guess just one of the things that I know is on the minds of a lot of people is what we can do about wait times. Some of the dining establishments. I was wondering if you had any thoughts or ideas, or if you've been in contacts in AU Dining. And I'm just speaking very specifically about wait times.
Yes, so when it comes to wait times, this has been a reoccurring issue from my freshman year over to my sophomore year. And when it comes to that, AU Dining has created a Topingo system where you could do a mobile order to certain dining locations on campus, including Subway and Einstein's, and later it's going to be Elevation. But personally, I had a friend who waited 45 minutes in the tavern just for a burger from Elevation Burger. And it's unfortunate to see that you have to wait. I personally waited up to 30 minutes for a simple sandwich from there. And if that service provider, if Elevation Burger cannot provide fast, convenient services, then we ought to have a discussion with the administration, with auxiliary services, about potentially changing the elevation burger to a different concept.
Other questions? Senator Luther?
I also wanted to ask about, like, personally, I know a lot of other students have as well have dealt with this, with the workers are actually sometimes very rude. So I wanted to know, like, how are you gonna go about maybe responding to that and addressing that?
See, is it right if I address you that first then?
Of course.
So Kali, I've spoken to many of the workers. I've also spoken to many of my fellow students about this issue, and there are some incredible, many incredible workers who treat me with kindness and respect. It's because I do the same to the workers. I treat them how I wanted to be treated. And when it comes to some of the workers, there is always a story, there is always circumstances that, affects worker morale. And first, I'd like for the undergraduate senate to address the issue of Anthony Randolph being banned from campus, because that has significantly impacted the worker morale down at TDR. When AUPD, according to the Eagle article, according to AUPD, and Mark Story, who is the American University spokesperson, AUPD and Mark Story have both stated that auxiliary services has no authority to simply ban someone from working at AU. You can read the Eagle article about that. But it's just that one aspect that has definitely dampened morale down in TDR. But also at the same time, I do agree that there are, rude workers, and it may be the stress, it may be their bosses, their supervisors coming after them. I don't know. But I just like to, have a conversation with them about how they can be, how they can all be more cheerful and positive.
Questioning has elapsed. Is there a motion? Motion to extend time if anyone wants any. Okay. Thank you. If you wouldn't mind stepping out of the room. Debate on the nominee, Senator Flores.
Mr. Speaker, I move to motion for vote by roll call. I'm sorry, voice.
A voice vote? Okay. Is there a second? I hear a second. Is there any debate on changing the voting procedure from secret ballot to voice vote? Seeing none, we're going to vote on changing the vote. Welcome to parliamentary procedure. All those in favor of changing your voting for the chair from secret ballot to voice vote, say yay. Yay. All those opposed say nay. Okay, so we'll vote via voice vote, but we're still in debate if there's any debate on the nominee for the chair. Senator Robbins.
Chris is fantastic. He consistently always brings great ideas. He has great relations with many of the people that are in the services that we hope to really fix. So if nobody has any objections, I'd like to move to close the debate. I'm moving to close the debate.
Second.
Your second. All right. All those in favor of closing debate and then moving to vote, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. It's all good. All right. So debate is now closed, and we will now vote on the nominee. All those in favor of electing Senator Hayashi to be the chair for Campus and Student Life, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed, say nay. Opinion chair, the ayes have it. Awesome. All right, we will now move to student rights and services. The floor is now open. Senator Adams. Is there a second?
Second.
Here a second. Senator Flores, do you accept?
Yes.
Are there other nominations? All right, the floor is now closed. Senator Flores, would you like to give your speech?
Good afternoon, everyone. I think on this Veterans Day, it's important to highlight the vitality of fighting for rights for others. As someone who's a child of a veteran myself, I know the vast importance that it takes in order to fight for rights. It requires a great deal of dedication as well as a great deal of sacrifice. In my time caring for my ailing mother, and also in my time as serving as a student body president and a National Honor Society president, I understand, and that gives me a unique perspective in serving as the chair to fight for those rights. In my position as chair, I would like to address that I plan to work directly with all 16 groups within the Office of Campus Life. I plan to hold weekly meetings with each of those groups and to work with them to address specific concerns that they have with respect to their organizations and the different purposes and issues that they could possibly address. In addition to them, I will also work specifically with Dr. Ah, who's our vice president, along with Dean Mary Clark, who's our provost, as well as Drs. Tracy Calandrio, who's our dean of students. And then also part of my priorities will be working with Tia Jackson, who currently serves as our Director of Academic Excellence, to ensure that our students are provided with a great, fair, and adequate academic community, both in the classroom and outside the classroom, along with working with Case and Director Hawk to ensure that those services are provided to our students there as well. As far as what I'll follow through with, I'll certainly follow through with some of the policies set forth by the former chairwoman from last year, Chairwoman Angela Chen. Part of those policies include the expansion of mental health services within our counseling center. That's vastly important. Obviously, we need to make sure that our students feel as though they have the mental capacity to perform adequately and be sufficient students within the community. And obviously, as we saw with the unfortunate shooting in Thousand Oaks, California, the shooter there suffered from mental health illness. So I think that's also a reason that we need to place this as a top priority within our committee to ensure that everyone knows that they have a community who's there for them, a community who's working to ensure that their mental health, their physical health, and just them in their entirety is well taken care of to ensure not only their safety, but the safety of our community as well. And then additionally, what I'll also be following through is the provision of adequate health services within our student health center. I know the former chairwoman brought this up when she ran last year, that unfortunately our students feel as though our student health center doesn't provide adequate enough resources within the student health center. And so they revert to outside health facilities in order to get treated. So I'll be working with Dr. Reitman, who's our medical director, to ensure that we provide adequate services within the student health center, to ensure that our students know that they can receive services here on campus and don't have to pay out of pocket and go off campus for that. And then also what the senator and the former chairwoman from last year also elaborated on with the expansion of cultural and cross-cultural events, which will also be a top priority within the committee to ensure that everyone from every walk of life ensures that they have a community here that they belong to and that there is inclusivity and diversity within our campus. As far as new ideas and proposals we'll be addressing in the committee, we'll be assessing the necessity for a second semester AUX class. We'll be working with the class of 2022 senators to ensure and to just discuss really the importance of that and also how we can work to and then a lot of grievances with regard to that. Also, we'll be looking into the accessibility of habits and mind courses. I've been told by a number of folks, particularly upperclassmen, and
You're like 20
Okay.
seconds.
okay, of the issue there, and then just a variety of other issues as well pertaining to our general committee. And I thank you all. Thank you, Senator Adams, for your nomination and for your support. I look forward to working with you as the chair of the committee. Thank you.
All right. Now open for questions of the nominee. Yes, Senator Hayashi.
So, Forrest, thanks very much for your willingness, your experience when it comes to dealing with kids, when it comes to student rights and services. One particular issue many freshmen have faced is the question of whether AUX is, whether it should be mandatory and how to possibly reform. So what are your thoughts on how AUX should move forward and move forward?
So for AUX, I definitely see the vitality of it for the first semester. Obviously, as freshmen, we're still transitioning into college life. And so obviously, there's importance to have that for the first semester. However, with respect to the second semester, that's where I've been hearing a great deal of issues for that. Really, the necessity of having it for our second semester. So we'll be addressing that issue in particular. And then with the class of 2022 senators and also general members of the community who have perspectives on that, and then just the overall reach of AUX in its entirety.
Other questions? Just as a reminder, this is a position that will be leading the committee throughout the year, so be sure to ask questions. Senator Sitzman?
You mentioned meeting with, I think it was 16 officials from the university, campus life on a weekly basis. But I imagine that with their schedules as administrators, that might be a challenge. So have you thought about if that is not possible, would that impact the advocacy that you plan to do?
Oh, no, certainly not. So I understand the depth of their schedule and it might not always accommodate. So I will definitely reach out to them, not only in formal settings like meetings, but also in informal settings. Just a simple email or telephone communications, just to reach out to see what the community can do to help them with their work. And then also anything else going forward with that.
Senator Messias?
I said Flores, going back to when you were addressing the expert too, can you please, if you can, elaborate on the issues that you heard regarding AUX purchasing that it is related to identity?
Sure. So particularly with respect to AUX Part 2, it was mostly scheduling. So obviously, AUX is just a 1.5 credit. So 1.5 for the first semester and then 1.5 for the second semester. So some have had issues with that, given that it could potentially block you from taking another class related to your major. And then therefore you have to put that class aside for like another semester. So just that particular issue. But no, definitely with respect to what AUX Part 2 addresses, like the diversity and inclusion issues, without a doubt, that's of great importance. And if we were to move forward with setting aside AUX Part 2, I would definitely move to implementing the curriculum that would have been taught there into AUX Part 1.
Other questions? Senator Butler?
One question I would have is that there's been some controversy lately with regards to like controversial speakers on campus and those and what you think the committee's role is with just the balance between free speech versus hate speech, and whether you think that the committee and the student government at large have a role in deciding that issue or advocating.
Sure. So I definitely respect the different organizations who want to bring speakers on campus, and I definitely value free speech. But to your point, yes, hate speech is real, and it's an issue that we need to address. So with respect to speakers brought on by other organizations, if the committee does identify that that speaker has had a history of, for example, speaking about or emulating ideas that are considered as hate speech, the committee will certainly bring that up to the organization and will work to mitigate that issue with the organization in whatever way we can.
Time for question has elapsed. Are there any motions? Senator Hayashi?
I motion to begin debate on Senator Flores. Or
Yeah, you don't have to do
to
that.
close for discussion.
It's all good. Seeing no motions to extend questioning, if you wouldn't mind leaving the room. Discussion, debate on the nominee. Senator Hayashi?
I believe that Senator Flores brings a lot to the table when it comes to student rights and services, and I think Senator Butler brought up a good point about whether campus organizations, clubs should bring controversial speakers to our campus. And I think that the student government can serve as a check and as a means to oversee what speakers that campus, student-led organizations bring to our campus to mitigate such potential for future incidents per se. And I think that Senator Flores has a lot to offer when it comes to student rights and services, particularly when it comes to AUX. And I look forward to seeing him work with the administration on how, how AUX can move forward while also, maintaining the curriculum that AUX 1 and 2 have established.
Other points of debate or discussion? Seeing none, we will move to Senator Adams. Yeah,
Second.
okay. Is there discussion on changing the secret ballot vote to voice vote? Seeing none, all those in favor of changing the voting method say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Okay. Any final discussion or debate on the nominee? Seeing none, debate will be closed without objection. We'll now vote. All those in favor of electing Senator Flores to the Committee on Student Rights and Services say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Depending on the chair, the ayes have it. And he is elected. All right, we're doing pretty well today, I must say. All right, now moving to the Committee on Accessibility, Transparency, and Accountability. The floor is now open for nominations. Senator Abby Sakara,
Yes, I would nominate
is there a second?
Second.
I hear a second. Is there, Senator Adams, do you accept? Okay. Are there other nominations? Seeing none, the floor is now closed. Senator Adams, would you like to give a speech?
Thank you, Senator Inuri, for nominating me.
Last year, in the end of April, I was elected to be the chairwoman of CATA, the Committee of Accountability, Transparency, and Accessibility. Our original vice chair became our AUSG president, and the original chair went abroad, so a new chair and vice chair for this committee was elected. The original chair recommended that I run for chair and endorsed my candidacy. Although I became the chair at the end of the 13th Undergraduate Senate, with most of my time serving during summer break, during which Senate did not convene, I still had the opportunity to serve as a chair and see what my responsibilities were like as a chair. This year, I asked for your vote for CATA chair because this is a committee dear to me. Freshman year, when I was campaigning to be a senator for the class of 2021, one of my main themes was increasing accountability, transparency, and accessibility within student government. I believe that there is a lot that we can do and should do as a student government senate to achieve this goal. Having served in the committee for a year and having been the chair for a few months, I got to see realistically what would be possible to do and to see how things can be accomplished within this committee. As mentioned in a recent AWOL article, the original chair was about to conduct an investigation on one of the former presidents. Being there and being a member of CATA during this time, I saw how this process works. I think it is important that the CATA chair has a good understanding of how an investigation is conducted, so if an investigation needs to be conducted, it can be conducted smoothly and accordingly to the governing documents. I can explain this more thoroughly if anyone has questions. Also, one of the vice chair's main initiative was the AUSG Internal Diversity Survey. I co-sponsored this bill as a member of CATA and a senator. I think it is initiatives like these that make an impact to increase transparency and encourage people with different diversity to apply, making AUSG more accessible to students across campus. As CATA chair, I hope to pass and advocate for initiatives like these that will continue to make AUSG more transparent and accessible. I have many ideas to help further this goal this year, and I want to help lead this initiative within Senate. Having spoken to a couple of directors within AUSG, I want to work with them this year to increase accountability and transparency. Within CATA this year, we can work with CASE, work with KPU, Founders Committee, and these are just a few. We can get NDA agreements and oversee these pivotal and heavily funded subsections of student government to make sure that they are held accountable. Furthermore, I hope to increase transparency in student government and accessibility to student government for students who are not involved in this club. I think that an important way to do so is through overseeing AUSG media and making sure it is always up to date and pivotal information regarding student government is accessible to students. Also, I think that this year the Senate and specifically CATA should work to create a way to ensure that paid leaders in student government are doing work that is deserving of their stipends prior to the BAC, during which stipends are allocated for the next year. And I think CATA can work with the Finance Committee this year on this initiative. I believe that there is a lot of work that must be done to accomplish these goals. And having led and been a member of CATA, I believe that with my previous experience, I can put in the work to ensure that student government is accountable, transparent, and accessible.
All right, we'll now open the floor to questions. Questions for the nominee? Senator Butler.
Would you say the committee's role is with a relationship with student media, like you mentioned? There's been some issues with with student media reporting on certain issues and how student government reacts to it. So what do you think the committee, if any, the role is?
Well, I think when I mentioned student media in my speech, I was referring more to like AUSG student media, but I think that since student media is a separate club that AUSG doesn't necessarily oversee, I think that that's kind of a tricky place to work with. I don't really know what AUSG can do about student media, so not really sure how to answer that, but yeah, I mean, we can always try to work with student media, but we're not necessarily supposed to oversee them.
Senator Jenkins?
Hi, so what are a few projects last year, that you'd like to carry forward this year, if any?
So, like, you mean like projects within Senate itself or within
Sorry,
this committee?
Within the committee.
Okay, so I know that, like, I mentioned that we worked on the internal diversity survey, so I want to make sure that continues happening, like, this year and next year. So I'd like basically work on that with Raphael to make sure it happens again. And I mean, other than that, another thing that was passed last year about regarding transparency was regarding making committees more accessible to students, like to the general public. And I think that wasn't something, I think that's a bill that needs to be tweaked this year and anyways, because it wasn't like followed through last year. So I think that's something that we can work on as a committee this year as well.
Other questions? Senator Hayashi?
Senator Adams, thank you for your speech. And you mentioned in your speech that you wanted to work with the special committee on finance.
Yes.
And I think that Senator Robbins of the 13th Undergraduate Senate has mentioned that when it comes to transparency with AUSG spending, in particular, when it comes to Founders Day week, how will you make it more accessible for students to access what AUSG spent our money on for, in the finance committee, when it comes to allocating funds, how will you make it more accessible?
So for that, first I plan on, as mentioned, having NDA so we can like work with Founders Committee and make sure that like, since everything is private before the event, like they don't like announce where it's happening or things like that. I want to make sure that Senate does have a say in like things like that. So we have an NDA agreement so we can work with them. And then also regarding finances, usually that gets announced. So I'll make sure like the comptroller does the job of coming and reporting to Senate and making sure that those statistics are posted online and accessible to people to see. So.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. If you wouldn't mind leaving the room. Discussion on the nominee, Senator Zitzman.
I request unanimous consent that the voting be done by voice.
Second.
Okay. Is there any, so with unanimous consent, basically it's automatically entertained unless anyone objects. It's a different way on voting. So is there any objection to voting via voice vote rather than secret ballot? Hearing no objection, that is entertained, we'll vote via voice at the end of debate. Discussion or debate on the nominee. Senator Flores.
With Senator Adams' previous experience serving CATA, and then with her former role as the chair of the committee, I find that she has a unique perspective with regard to what she can bring to the committee for this year, and then also the relationships that she was able to build having served on the committee last year, and then as the former chairwoman, again, that will also prove beneficial to the elected chair for this upcoming year. So, she would have advised that all our supports as well.
Other points of debate or discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote without objection. All right, all those in favor of electing Senator Adams to the Committee on Accessibility, Transparency, and Accountability, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. In the chair, the ayes have it. And she's elected. right, we will now move to the Special Committee on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. The floor is now open for nominations. Senator Flores,
I move to nominate Senator Jenkins to serve as the chair.
is there a second? I hear a second. Do you accept?
I do.
Okay. Other nominations, Senator Butler, Senator Butler.
Nominate Senator Jackson.
Is there a second? I hear a second. Do you accept? Are there other nominations? Seeing none, the floor is now closed. Senator Jenkins, would you like to give your speech? Senator Jackson, would you mind stepping out of the room? Floor is yours.
Thank you, Senator Florence, for nominating me. Good afternoon to all. So prior to running for my election, I spoke directly to Raphael to see ways in which we can incorporate new ways of diversity and inclusion here on campus. A few things that I want to do is work closely with him along with other university officials excuse me, to ensure that all students feel inclusive here. One thing I want to do is work closely with CEI and create, well, I guess specifically for my class, freshman talks, along with other classes, where we have like a topic Thursday where we essentially just throw a topic out there, have all members come in and just discuss any ways in which we can ensure everyone feels safe and inclusive here at AU. Other things I'd like to do is work closely with AUX facilitators as well and peer advisors to ensure that everyone feels inclusive within discussions and that we're not othering other students. So those are like additional projects that I have. So that I like your support for my role in chair of diversity.
All right, thank you. Now open it up to questions. Questions for the nominee. Senator Newlander.
You mentioned trying to with their advisors and maybe their sessions to make sure everyone feels included. Like, do you have specific ways that you want to see the exchange from now?
So similar to what Senator Flores mentioned in his speech, where we move certain, like it's kind of a collaboration within AUX2, also with AUX1, that will kind of incorporate freshmen into being welcome the first year, along with the talks revolving bias and stereotypes and combining it into one.
Other questions? Yes.
Talk a little bit about the other that you mentioned and what plans we have to implement that.
Sure, so I guess we would basically talk about ways where we can address race as like where we can discuss race openly and not essentially stating like race as just like black, white, and other.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. If you wouldn't mind sending in Senator Jackson. Yep, you have 4 minutes.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Starchild Jackson, if you don't know me. So I'll start off by saying this. Every office or every position I've ran for since being here has focused around one thing, and that's inclusion and diversity. Those are two words that this university likes to throw around, and maybe don't truly understand the difference. Me, I come from a place that's not diverse at all. It's either black or white. They're not that accepting of outside terms and things like that. So when I chose American, I thought I was picking a university that was an accepting and open atmosphere that would really help cultivate my personal development. After being here for a couple of weeks, I realized that we do have some problems. And that's why I applied for the deputy director position in DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And some of you senators who are returning from the 13th session remember me, and I thank you again for voting for me. I left that position because I was called a racial slur. And it was the first time in about 5 years that someone had called me something like that. And I was like, wow, here, really? And I was like, I can't do this every day. I can't deal with stories like this. I can't deal with issues like this. So I cowered it out and I quit. And as soon as I did that, I was like, wow, really? Did my mom raise someone like that? I come from a single mother who had 2 kids by the end of high school and went to 2 Ivy League universities. She went through growing up next to a Klan member, having a dog chased on her almost every day in middle school. And she would be so disappointed in me if I told her that someone called me a racial slur and I quit trying to help other people. So the reason I'm running for this position or want to be chair is not because I want the power or anything like that. It's because I want to make sure that inclusion and diversity are always at the forefront of people's minds here. Making sure that this government does not forget that they have people of difference that attend this university. Making sure that people like me or people like you that are people of difference feel comfortable to go here. That's the job of AUSG, and that's what I'll do as chair. So,
Thank you. Questions for the nominee? Senator Newlander.
Do you have any specific ideas of how you're gonna get diversity and inclusion?
So when I was a deputy director of DEI, I suggested a program that AUSG would start out. Members of AUSG would, it's called a cultural diversity program, a cultural buddy system. People of different cultures would be connected with people that aren't in it. So AUSG would connect with a member of the student population that is different from them, and they learn from them. They understand them. It starts off, you think this is a really simple idea, but we did it in my high school and it was really productive. You learn so much about the biggest problem I've encountered here is that people don't know, people don't understand. So if we can do something to bridge a gap between myself and someone else that isn't like me, I think that's great. And because we're AUSG, then we are the model. So if we started here, then it can expand elsewhere. I also would like to we have a lot of talks on this campus of people that are like us, which is great, and I love it. But I don't think that's very educational for people outside of our groups. My problem isn't that I don't feel connected to the Black community, it's that I don't feel connected to other communities. So I think that groups should be able to listen in, or it shouldn't just be like my talk, it should be everyone's talk. So those are some things I have.
Other questions? Senator Flores.
Hi, Senator Jackson. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm really sorry you had to face that.
Don't be, it wasn't you.
Yeah, I mean, that's unacceptable. I just wanted to ask, do you feel like, for instances such as those, if students revert to that sort of unacceptable behavior, do you think they should be censured for it? And if so, how would that censoring go about?
I think that is more, and I think, we're still students, and I think that while we can say something about it, I think it's more so we educate people that these type of things happen. But I think that it should be very clear that the university is there to help people that have had incidents like this. You know, the victims of these incidents. We should be able to connect. We should be outlets for those people, those victims, to get them the help that they need.
Other questions? Senator Newlander?
I'm a little bit confused about the cultural buddy system.
Yes.
Are the buddies within AUSG?
No. Okay. So, it's not a finalized plan. We could talk about it later, but I really would like to open it up to members of the students, and we might have 2 or 3 buddies. And obviously, there's not 30 senators yet, but there are only 30 senators. So it's not going to reach a huge population of the campus, but it's a start, and we can expand on it later.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. If you wouldn't mind leaving the room. All right, we'll now move into debate and discussion on the nominees. Senator Flores.
Okay, so while I nominate Senator Jenkins, I personally find both the candidates to be a very exceptional. I worked with Star Child and Nancy leadership is phenomenal with his contributions and everything that he has to offer. The reason I nominated Nancy in particular, however, is because her candidacy for Senator plus 2022, the vast majority of the platform was based on diversity and inclusion. And part of what she was discussing was that implementation of professional talks, which I think is very beneficial. And if she's elected, I would greatly encourage her to work with Star Child to implement his vision as well within professional talks, but also to expand those, not just to include freshmen, but to also include other grade levels as well, because diversity and inclusion isn't something that just affects the freshman population, but it affects every grade level. So that's my reason for nominating her. I would encourage you to support her. But both nominees, as I said, they are phenomenal. Whoever is elected chair, they will be fantastic at that position.
Senator Butler.
Adding on to what Senator Flores said, I moved to nominate Senator Jackson because I've seen the work he's done. I've been during his campaign for Senator at large. He's done the outreach. He's done a lot that he has inroads with so many communities on this campus, and it's something that I think he would add a lot because he has those connections and he has that ability. He's been very involved with BSU. He knows a lot of students from varying communities and he's been able to not only know them but to connect them. And I've seen that throughout his time here at AMU. So I think he would make a phenomenal chair for the
Senator Hayashi.
First, I'd like to just give some background about Senator Jackson, Star Child. I saw him in the 13th Undergraduate Senate when he gave his speech on, becoming vice chair of DEI, working with Raphael, and I did not know why he stepped down until now. I think that I respect and I appreciate that he has the courage to come back and to have a vision for this university when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how a lot of times that American University stresses that, but at the same time, do we actually act? Do we walk the walk as a student government, as a university? And I think Star Child would be a great leader to chair this special committee on DEI because it's important. It helps the campus and student life a great deal, and it moves this university into a positive future. And I look forward to, regardless of whoever's elected chair, Star Child or Annalisa, I believe that they both work together to make this university a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive place.
Other Senator Newlander.
They both sounded really great to me. They both spoke well. I'm a bit more compelled by Annalisa. One, because I liked how concrete and specific she was. I think that just shows that she's going to continue to have concrete and specific ideas. That's how you get stuff done.
But two, I'm also just compelled by the fact that she is Afro Latina and female. I think that the intersection of, I mean, we talk about intersectionality, but I think that perspective is important. But it's important to like encourage those voices.
Senator Messias.
I do truly enjoy that this body support both candidates, but I hope that you choose to support this agenda. Some of you may know we campaigned together early on. We had discussions, very heated, passionate discussions about ways in which we can improve diversity and inclusion on this campus. I full-heartedly believe that she has what it takes to bring that about.
Senator Adams.
I'm very torn between the two because they both gave great speeches and they both seem very passionate. I mean, I've spoken to Senator Jenkins before, and she's also like, she's told me like before that she's like very passionate and making sure like, that their like diversity is like her main issue on this campus that she wants to work on. So I think she'd be a great candidate. But also, Senator Jackson also like had a lot of passion and had some good ideas. So I really like, I think that whichever one is voted would make a great chair, but I hope that the other one will become vice chair and I hope that they work together.
Senator Robbins.
Yeah, I would just say I want to echo what Senator Adams was saying. I'm very torn. I think they're both fantastic candidates. Both have such really compelling stories, really compelling things they want to do. I guess this is just more me voicing. I hope we can continue to debate because I really don't know who I'm supporting. I think it is one of those rare times that regardless of who wins, they'll both do great. But, I know I'm still really torn. I think this is a really important committee, and I think we just need to keep that debate. So I really don't know.
Senator Butler.
And also off of what Senator Newland said, I think intersectionality is really important. Senator Jackson, as I've talked a lot with him, as he's a bisexual Black man, and I've talked with him about issues of LGBTQ resources on campus, and that they need to be better communicated because there's a lot of people who deal with these issues that are they're not aware of what's available to them. Because there is a wide breadth on this campus that's available to them, but they're just not aware of it. So that communication is something that he's made very apparent, which can help me with him, as well as he's currently the president of the University Centennial Hall Council. So he has made cultural inclusion a big part. In fact, he's currently creating a cultural food night where he's bringing people from all different identities together to have just to meet. And so I think that kind of experience and that kind of drive is what compels me to Senator Jackson.
Other points of debate or discussion? Senator Flores.
I was just gonna echo what Senator Butler said. Both candidates are phenomenal. Not only do they serve in the Senate, but both candidates also hold presidential positions. Senator Jenkins is also the president of the Class of 2022 Council. One of the most compelling things that I found was that in her candidacy for Senate, her motto was "We matter, we matter." That really touched me because not only does she see diversity and inclusion holistically for the entire campus, she also sees it individually. She recognizes that it's something that impacts every specific individual and not just the community as a whole. And she really understands to establish those connections with each individual, and then by doing so, form a whole community based on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so that's why I would definitely support her for her candidacy to be the chair.
Other points of debate or discussion? Senator Giesler.
I would just like to speak up why I would support Senator Jackson for this position, not only because he would be a good representation for diversity, but also he is the kind of person that speaks up about it. Like if there's an issue and he sees that issue, he speaks up about it. That's it. So if he sees something, goes talks to him, he tries to explain to people, for example, if there's an issue that we're serious about, or if there's like something I guess not as people are not getting included in certain things. He steps up, he does the work in that sense. So he just has that also that effort and the courage to speak up and just like tell people, you know, like for example, like, hey, like maybe consider this, or oh, that wasn't really like as inclusive in that sense, which you make the phrase a different or something like that. So I just think why I'm more on Senator Jackson's side, although I do not know Senator Jenkins, I think she's also and I would like to get to know her better as well. I just think Senator Jackson just has that directness, which is like really needed in at AU, because a lot of times diversity and inclusion is more of a thing which is set like behind the back. Also like how AU displays it is like, oh yes, we're diverse, blah blah blah, we do this and that. Nothing really happens. And I think Senator Jackson just has that like grip to like actually do something and confront it. So, yeah.
Senator Rodriguez.
So I think the voter is why did you vote? And I think both are very compelling candidates because they both have very good ideas and they want to do a lot in school. I like what Senator Newlander said about the intersectionality part. I think that's very important. In fact, that we should get everybody, and I really like that motto, getting everybody involved. You know, we all matter in this situation. And you know, Senator Jackson, he's very qualified in the fact that he's also working in other positions. I've seen his work in RJ, and I've seen it do amazing things in leadership program as well. And I think it's a very tough decision to make on people with great qualities, great personalities who both want to make a decision, great decisions in the long run. And I think just, you know, when everybody goes to a vote, just choose who you think will be the best leader in this position, the best who at causing initiative, getting action done for the campus and for the general welfare of the entire school.
Other points of debate or discussion? Senator Flores.
Just to echo what Senator Rodriguez said, he's absolutely right. Both are phenomenal, both are fantastic, both do a really great job. And yeah, whoever gets elected will do a great job. My hope is that whoever does serve on that committee, that they make both chair and vice chair respectively. And I think they'll make a great team either way.
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
it possible to make them co-chairs?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah. No, because I mean, if you'd have to go into the bylaws and change that because it's set that way. Other points of debate or discussion? Seeing none, we will close debate and move to vote without objection. This one will be secret ballot. Please write the last name of the senator which you wish to see elected as the chair for the committee. And then please just fold it up and either hang on to it or bring it up to the meeting. Everyone has a ballot. Everyone has a ballot. Yeah.
If there's a tie, do you break it or is there another vote?
Oof. I don't know if that applies to chair elections. If anything, we'll do another revote. Feel free to talk amongst yourself for a few minutes or a little bit. All right, so in a vote of 11 to 8, Senator Jackson will be serving as the chair. All right. Moving on to the Special Committee on Finance. The floor is now open for nominations. Senator Adams. I hear a second. Senator Zitzman, do you accept the nomination?
Yeah.
I feel like I know this. Yeah. Are there other nominations? Senator Jacobs.
I move to nominate Senator Max
Robbins. Okay. Is there a second? I hear a second. Senator Max Robbins, do you accept your nomination? No. Okay. Are there other nominations? Senator Hayashi.
I move to nominate Senator Rodriguez as chair of the Special Committee on Finance.
Is there a second? I hear a second. Senator Rodriguez, do you accept your nomination?
No.
That is a no. Are there other nominations? Seeing none, the floor is now closed. Senator Zitzman, would you like to give a speech?
While I'm up there, I'm expecting an important phone call, so I apologize if I have to step out. But these people in this room have worked with me before. You can talk to them. All right. So my name is Bobby Zitzman. I'm a junior. I'm an aesthetics major and a German minor. So I'm going to go over what I've done in student government and so like specifically related to finance, and then what I intend to do as if I'm elected chair of the Finance Committee this year. I apologize also if I go quickly through things, but I've got a bit to say. So as far as what I've done in student government, I've held a wide variety of positions really all over the place. I served in the 12th and 13th Senate, and now in the 14th Undergraduate Senate as well. Last Undergraduate Senate, number 13, I was Speaker pro tempore, and in September and October, I was chair of the finance committee then as well. I work in CASE, Center for Advocacy and Student Equity, as a finance advocate. So I help students with financial aid appeals and refinancing and things like that, helping them through the process and bureaucracy, because that's no fun. Last April, I worked for the Judicial Board, helping them review elections complaints, and I'm now the undergraduate representative on the Transportation Advisory Committee. So I work with President Fernandez, and I give the student point of view on things like the UPass, the shuttle, parking, and things like that. And then things related to finance, like I said, I'm in CASE, and last year in the undergraduate senate, my main focus was reforming CASE, primarily to add in that section for finance advocacy. That is something, I wrote the bill for that, and thankfully it got through. And now there are students being helped by CASE through financial aid appeals, so I'm happy about that. That's having concrete results. For those of you who were here for the orientation beforehand, Trevor showed the financial aid report that the Senate worked on last year. I wrote the bill directing that, and as a member of the Finance Committee, I contributed my part. My part is about administrative spending. And Saram, then the chair of the Finance Committee, who's now CASE director, and I were actually the only members of the Finance Committee to write their parts, unfortunately. But nevertheless, it ended up very well, and that's something the Senate can be proud of. I was very involved with the budget and stipend process last year. That the Finance Committee does that, writes the student government budget for next year and the stipends. Once again, Saram and I were the only members of the Finance Committee that attended every one of those hearings where the programming directors and different people who get stipends come in and propose what they think their budget and stipend should be. And in this September and October, I have corresponded to some degree with the president and comptroller, even though there hasn't been any official business. We've been going back and forth talking about what we think should be like reform and transparency initiatives that the student government undertakes regarding finance going into this year. And that brings me to what I want to do. And it's all about, I think, for the Finance Committee this upcoming year, about reform and transparency. Those are the most important things about student government finance, because of the very clear result that we got in the referendum this fall. I think that was a very important signal from the student body that they just don't trust and they don't find transparent enough student government, especially how it deals with finance. So I want to make that a lot more transparent. I want, one of my main goals as finance chair is going to be releasing a large report that we will work on over several months that documents who and how, who does the student activities finance, and how the process goes. A look at what specifically is going on with our finances as much as we can without violating contractual obligations, and just making sure everything is in order, just checking up on the executive management of that. I've got a little bit more to say, but that's mainly it, and I encourage you all to ask questions.
Thank you. Questions for the senator? Senator Hayashi.
How will you work with the borough administration when it comes to the rising tuition, and particularly, in fact, with Dr. All about whether or not she will personally, whether her department will raise the student activities?
All right, so about the student activity fee, I supported that initiative. I voted for it for the referendum to be placed. I voted for the referendum in my capacity as a student, and I was the sponsor of getting the referendum on the ballot in my capacity in student government. But now that it failed 3-1, my position is that the Office of Campus Life should not advocate to the Board of Trustees for an increase in the student activity fee. I think that would be incorrect of them to do. So that's on that. And then on tuition, I do think that affordability is a major point of improvement that the university needs to make. I agree with the recommendations of the finance report that the Finance Committee put out in the 13th Undergraduate Senate, and I want to see those pursued as much as they can be. So I am going to be working a lot with Saram if I'm in this position, being the undergraduate representative to the Board of Trustees relating to finance, because he's a really good resource on that, as well as the current student trustee and President Fernandez, who was the student trustee last year. So I think if student government and student representatives in general, including the student trustee, can be really informed and thorough. I think the Board of Trustees will listen to us and, as much as they can, take our suggestions seriously and implement them, because they know from their perspective as well, a higher tuition is going to be bad for the university if fewer and fewer students can attend.
Other questions, Senator Robbins?
Thanks, Bobby. Bobby, you and I worked together as chair and co-chair last session. You always do your homework, and you're always very clear and concise with what you want to do, and you also have a plan. I'm just wondering, one of the things that was really brought up a lot during the referendum campaign was how money is allocated. Those all important back allocations. I'm just wondering, do you see us having to change those allocations? Do you advocate for those to be changed from where they're currently at and giving the organizations more money, or do you think it's just a problem of people not knowing how the money is allocated?
Well, I think it's both. There is a problem, I wouldn't say within student leaders, club leaders, media leaders, and programmers in student government. I think everyone there is on the same page about how the process works, but in the student body in general, I do think there is a problem with information. So that is something that we can help address with the transparency report, working with student media groups to disseminate that report and have them report on the content of it. And then about the allocations, what Jacob is referring to is that the different kinds of student organizations get a different slice of the pie of all the money that's raised through the student activity fee. And I do definitely think that that is something we need to work on this year, that we do need to consider as many different reform proposals as we can. Without seeing any of those proposals, I don't want to commit to any of them. But I have already been in correspondence with some students who I noticed were particularly invested in the referendum campaign, and I've started to talk to them about what they think how the allocation should be. But I do foresee that the allocations change, and it's just going to be a matter of talking with student leaders from both from the administrative level, like AUCC and the Student Media Board, as well as individual club leaders, like the editor of the Eagle, the president of this and that club, like on the ground level as well, to find out what is the most equitable, and then change that. Because right now, I don't think anyone is particularly pleased with the status quo.
Senator Hayashi?
Senator Zisman, so back in April of 2013, AU overhauled its campus dining services, switching from Bon Appetit to Airmark. And as the university's 2-year budgetary cycle is up for grabs, after the spring semester, have you heard anything about a dining service project team where we can, well, there's an Eagle article about it, when the university reevaluates the dining services that Airmark currently provides. Do you have any information regarding a dining service project?
I don't have anything more than what you just mentioned in your question. But if I am the finance chair, I will be excited to work with you as the chair of the Committee on Campus and Student Life, and all the other people who are interested in dining and campus issues. From the perspective of the Finance Committee, our job is the undergraduate or the student government budget and stipends, and affordability advocacy. So the Finance Committee would be involved in that insofar as affordability is concerned. So just like tuition and room and board and administrative expenses, dining is another large expense that students have to pay. Yes, the answer is that the Finance Committee will work with your committee on that.
Questioning has elapsed. Are there any motions? Seeing none, if you wouldn't mind stepping out of the room. Discussion on the nominee, Senator Adams. So you want to vote on the election via unanimous consent? Okay. Are you also closing debate? Okay. how do you want to vote on closing debate? So you're moving to close debate and vote via unanimous consent. Okay. Okay. Is there any discussion on closing debate? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing debate and moving to vote via unanimous consent say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Okay. Is there any objection to electing Senator Sitzman to the Special Committee on Finance chair? Seeing none, he is elected. All right, moving to the election of members for the Special Committee on Finance. So just as clarification, the Special Committee on Finance is specifically designated to have 7 members, as stipulated by the bylaws. We will go through the same processes. If we can have as many people nominated, and then technically, we will go through speeches and questioning for each member. So let's get it started. I will open the floor to nominations for the committee. Senator Rodriguez.
I'd like to nominate Max Roberts.
Set.
I hear a second. Max Robbins, do you accept that nomination?
Yes.
Senator Zitzman,
I nominate the other Senator Robbins.
is there a second?
Second.
Do you accept?
I do, thank you. Robin had 2 names.
Senator Adams,
I move to nominate Senator
there's a second. I'm gonna accept that. It's just weird because he's not here to accept
He
it.
said
But
me something, it's like, you do these speeches. So he accepts it.
got it. Okay. Senator Hayashi.
Point of inquiry, am I allowed to serve on this special committee?
Yeah, anyone can serve on it. Senator Robbins,
I'd like to nominate Senator Jenkins.
is there a second? Do you accept this nomination?
I do.
Okay. Senator Butler, is there a second? Second, do you accept this nomination?
Yes.
Senator Adams,
To nominate Senator Undergraduate,
okay. Is there a second? Second. Senator Luther, do you accept the nomination? Senator Evans, do you accept? No, I missed the one. Yes.
Yes, can nominate Senator Rodriguez.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing a second, do you accept? Okay. Yeah. Senator Flores,
I move to nominate Senator Panache to serve on the committee.
is there a second?
Second.
Do you accept?
Yes.
Are there other nominations? Seeing none. The floor is now closed.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
All right. If
I have a question. Is it 7 including the chair or 7 members?
7 including the chair, so 6 additional members are going to be elected. If there's any, unless there's any objection, I'll allow all candidates to stay in the room, just because if all the candidates leave, then that like wipes out half the body. So, unless there's objection. Okay. All right. So we'll start with Senator Max Robbins, and your speech. Everyone has 4 minutes. 4 minutes questioning. Can be extended if necessary.
Hi, everybody. My name is Max Robbins. I'm a senator for the class of 22. I'll keep it relatively brief. My campaign highlighted numerous issues with the finances of both the university and student government. As we're all very well aware of, a lot of the students aren't very happy with student government. A lot of people think it's a bloated organization that has severe problems, that takes up too much of the student finances. And I think that a lot of their concerns do have merit. And for that reason, I would like to be on the finance committee. I think that a lot of these concerns are worth investigating. I believe that being on the finance committee will enable me to look into many of these concerns, assess their validity, and really try to make students improve the impression of or how student government is viewed by the students. And I think a lot of that comes with making it a more financially transparent organization and investigating its finances. That's pretty much what I have to say, and I hope that you support me in this.
All right. Questions for the nominee? Senator Hayashi.
Senator Robbins, what specific issue would you like for the finance committee to tackle, or for you personally to address?
One particular issue I would like to investigate is the expenditures that go to Founders Day. As we all know, that is a very large expenditure and a huge component of student government spending, huge component of really a lot of spending. I know that, for instance, in the Residence Hall Association, that pulls money from there. Really pulls money from a lot of where student activity fee goes. And I know that angers a lot of students. And I think that investigating Founders Day and how the finances behind that work a bit more, seeing if they could be adjusted to perhaps not make up $150,000 or so a year, I think that would make a lot of students much more happy.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will move to Senator Jacob Robbins.
First, I want to start off by saying thank you to Bobby for nominating me to continue to serve on this committee. I served on this committee last semester. One of the reasons why I really want to serve on this committee again is beyond the numbers, beyond all of the sound and the noise, it's people's undergraduate experience, it's people's lives. And I could bore you with all of these different complex, really like financial this, financial that, but I think at the end of the day, what we need to have is a finance committee that goes to where students are at and listens to their concerns and then addresses them. We have seen after this referendum that students don't trust student government, and in particular, the finance committee, to do the right thing. During my tenure as a senator, I have worked with the media board who has felt like they have not been represented fairly or that they've been brought into the correct conversations. I have reached out to them and I've continued to keep up that really important dialogue with them. I was one of the only senators to really kind of openly say that I was not going to vote for the referendum. And I understand that that was sort of putting myself out there, and I love everybody here, and that was a little tough. But I couldn't do it because after listening to my constituents, after listening to so many of the people come to me, I couldn't do it because it wouldn't benefit everybody else. One of the things that you must ask about a finance committee is if they're going to go to the people, hear them out, and actually do action. I've done that, and I want to continue doing that. And something that I have based my entire life on doing is talking to people and bringing them into the conversation. I hope you'll continue to give me that chance, and I really look forward to any questions you have. Thank you.
Questions? Senator Hayashi.
Senator Robbins, thank you for your speech. Thank you for your openness and honesty about not supporting the referendum. So, like I asked the other Senator Robbins, what will be your priority on this special committee on finance?
Thank you for that question, Chris. I have a few really major priorities I think we really need to do. The first thing we need to do is we need to really take a hard look at how the money is being allocated with those back allocations. Before we ended session, one of the things I really tried to push for was a bill that would have mandated that back representatives request that student government takes less than 50% of all of the allocations. And I was really adamant about that. That unfortunately didn't get done, but that was something that I was really looking at. So the first thing we need to do is look at the back allocations, go to these institutions like Student Media Board, like AUT, like ATV, and ask them how they're, what are your struggles, how much more money do you need, and let's see if we can come up with some kind of compromise. Because what people don't realize is, while we can talk about how great Founders Day is going to be and everything, a lot of these institutions are having to decide whether or not they're going to get a new printer or if they're going to have a full print edition. And that's not acceptable. And we can do better than that, and we should do better than that. So that's the first thing I would do is back allocations. The second thing I would do is I would advocate for us to have more open finance committee sessions so that more people can come, understand how the process works with allocation. There was a great email that was just sent out by President Fernandez. I think that's a step in the right direction, but the finance committee can really have the opportunity to take the lead on that. So that's one of the other priorities. If there's anything more specific you'd like to ask, I have a lot of different ideas, but those are just two of my really top priorities.
Other questions?
I would like to say, if it's possible, Trevor, just to add one thing. I am a senator for Cass. Cass is one of the largest schools, academic schools that are here on this campus, and I hear from my constituents. I hear them, and we need to take a harder look at how we're allocating money. We need to be talking to people. We are in the student government, and we are finance, and there's a major burden that students have that either is being listened to or nothing is being done, and we can't do that any longer. We have to have a finance committee that is willing to listen, is willing to be more equitable, and I hope you'll give me that chance to serve.
Other questions? Senator Giesler?
So I work very close with ATV because I'm in the functional podcast, school. A lot of people you said, a lot of people didn't support the referendum. That I'm part of that. I didn't really support the referendum because like I said, I didn't really see the benefit which most other students would have, and also speaking from members of ATV, just the higher people in that sense, they just had the feeling that they weren't listened to in that sense, that they were part of the conversation, where the money goes to and all that kind of stuff, just general finance. So would you generally just how would you do that? Would you invite them to your conversation, your committee meetings in that sense, or what would you do?
So I think that's an excellent question. I think there's a major difference between inviting somebody to speak and then actually going to where they are and making yourself available. And I've consistently done that. I've reached out to Media Board so many times, and yes, to get in touch with, but they appreciate somebody really trying hard to get in contact with them. So yeah, of course, invite them, but also make a concerted effort to go to where they're at and listen to them and really hear them out. Go to their meetings, just listen. That's the most important thing. That's what I've done throughout my entire life, is I've always tried to go to where people are listening and be open and be willing to change whatever opinion I may have. Because the fact of the matter is, you don't know the whole story until you've got the whole story. And you don't know if you get the whole story is if you actually go yourself. You don't just invite them, you go and you do it.
Other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'll move to Senator Kenna.
I'm sorry, okay? Well, there's some cool ones.
Hi, so obviously I'm not Senator Kenna, but so I'm speaking on his behalf. So Senator Kenna is a big advocate for finances on this in this university. He ran for comptroller last year, so finances is one of his main concerns on campus. Last year, when he was running for comptroller, he met with treasurers and presidents from clubs across campus to hear about their concerns regarding student finances. He also met with Devontae, Student Involvement Fund, and he was a member of student finance last year, so he knows a lot about the internal allocation process and how the BAC works, which happens in the spring in the Senate, in the finance committee. And he knows a lot of people in the programming organizations, and he knows about their financial situations and like how that all works. He says he thinks that we need to work on reforming stipends and increasing oversight on the stipends. He says we need to find a way to make sure that SG funds are being spent more efficiently and effectively. And he came up with proposals for that in his executive board campaign for comptroller, and he wants to implement that now in Senate. He also says that this semester we need to work on a report about allocation, because that's what people were talking about during the whole referendum campaign, that the finances need to be more accessible and transparent to the student body and need to be reformed. So he thinks that that a report on allocation is very important. So yeah, I'm open to questions about his experience or what he plans to do in the future.
Question for Ken as proxy. See none. Thank you. Now moving to Senator Hayashi.
Four minutes, right?
Yep.
Good afternoon, Senator Hayashi. I speak at the discretion of the speaker. And thank you very much for the opportunity to serve on the Special Committee on Finance. And one major issue I've said again and again that I will address is the state of dining at American University. I'm sure that dining meal plans in the future, since our university budgetary cycle is up for renewal in the spring, after the spring semester, that we ensure that meal plans are affordable, equitable, and reasonable to incoming students, and also for students who are required to purchase a meal plan, because it's really important that future students here at American University don't go through the same dining system that my fellow sophomores and the incoming freshmen have experienced. I've seen a common theme of virtually every single senator who ran, particularly the freshman class. They wanted to improve the dining situation on this campus. And I believe that if elected to serve on the Special Committee on Finance, that I will be a champion for dining at American University. So I'd just like to reference the Eagles article from April 18th of 2013, where the Eagle article stated that Bon Appetit's contract with AU, Bon Appetit meaning the previous food services provider for American University, with AU will not be renewed, according to Chris Moody, Assistant Vice President for Housing and Dining Programs. Well, we now know that AU Dining has split, that the original program where AU had housing and dining programs under one umbrella has split into AU Dining, which is operated by Aramark, and Housing and Residence Life. So I'd just like to say to my fellow senators that there was an AU Dining service project team where a group of faculty and student representatives from the SG and the Residence Hall Association reviewed the university's dining services over the past year. And I intend to talk to whoever the assistant vice president for, whoever replaced Chris Moody or whoever's in charge of evaluating dining services at American University, that the Senate talk with them about how we can improve the state of dining at American University. And I bring a lot of original and uniqueness and a lot of proprietary information about the dining situation on this campus. Thank you to both Senator Max Robbins and Senator Jacob Robbins about discussing how SG can improve its relations with the student body and how they can help in the aspect where we ensure that there is a sense of frugality within SG, where we accomplish more with less. And I'm taking this directly from Amazon's leadership principles because I attended at one of Amazon's work presentations. So at Amazon, they emphasize frugality, where they accomplish more with less. Constraints breed resourcefulness, self-sufficiency, and invention. There are no extra points for growing headcount, budget size, or fixed expenses. And that's what the student body has stated, that we don't want to raise the student activity fee from $85 to $100. So that means that AUSG must come up with creative solutions to tackle these problems. And I'd like to address dining on the Special Committee on Finance. I yield the rest of my time to the speaker.
Questions for the nominee, Senator Robbins.
When you say Amazon, do you mean like the computer with the Jeff Bezos?
Yes, you can go to Amazon.jobs and
I was a little confused, sorry.
yes, I am talking about, I just stopped by
They
one
have
of their
work sessions now?
one of the recruitment sessions. Unfortunately, I'm not eligible for it, but I think that we can take that leadership principle and apply it to SG.
Thank you, sorry.
Yes, Senator Selinger.
So, you talked about working with finance dining on campus, making it more affordable. Where do you see room to make it more affordable, or how would you go about it?
So the meal plans are up for, according to Anne Marie Powell, who is the Director of Dining Services. She has stated at her September Dining Advisory Board meeting that the meal plans are, they're basically up for revision in the future after the spring semester. And I think it's really important that if you're requiring, first year students up till, because if you live 4 semesters on campus, 4 semester students who live on campus are still required to buy the 100 meal plan block. And I think it's important to see whether or not, we should require students to purchase X meal plan, or, for example, for the freshmen, the 175 meal plan, and whether or not you will use them all, because in my past experience, I was left with over 50 meal swipes after my freshman year, and that's not something I want for future students to deal with, because it's important that we make college an affordable for students. And when we're talking about the meal plans or student activity fees, and I attended President Burwell's strategic planning update, and when she showed the graph where tuition rose every year for the past, in my time, for the past 2 years, it's very shocking to see that we don't have a stable way to keep tuition same. For example, at GW, if you enter as a freshman with, for example, a $50,000 tuition, you keep that tuition for all 4 years at GW. But we're obviously not GW. But how can we prevent tuition from rising every year? That's what I'd like to work with the chair, senators that's been on. And in particular, when it comes to dining, I've been very involved since day one. Since Anne Marie Powell first established dining advisory boards, I've been showing up. And what was surprising is that she's fairly new to AU. She entered as director of dining services, the summer before my freshman year. So I believe that I can offer a lot when it comes to improving dining services, improving the affordability, the quality, and the variety of food that AU has to offer.
Other questions? Yes.
Just to follow up, so you're obviously very dedicated to the dining issue. I don't question that. Go to working in but you have any ideas as to, are you going to decrease the cost of the meal plan, are you going to put restriction on what level meal plan you can provide, how do you see, but how would you implement it for anyone specifically?
Everything you just mentioned, I sent out in a Google form where I have all of the issues that we can advocate for as an undergraduate senate. When it comes to concrete numbers, I am unable to give you that at this time because, like, Trevor has mentioned during the info sessions, SG doesn't have any tangible power or leverage to say, hey, American University, you're going to, have a 150 meal block plan required for freshmen at, $1,500 per semester, making it like $10 a swipe. And I can't guarantee that to you, but what I can do is I will continue to show up to dining advisory board meetings. I will continue to talk to auxiliary services and the director of One Card and Dining Services, who is Anne Marie Powell. And I will talk to whoever replaced Mr. Christopher Moody, who was the assistant vice president who oversaw the transition between Bon Appetit and Airmark DC.
Questioning has elapsed. Any motions? No, all right. Thank you. I will move to Senator Luthra.
All right, hi guys. My name is Cully. I'm the senator for the School of International Service. And so essentially, I've heard like quite a bit in regards to the lack of trust that our student body has for AUSG and the negative rhetoric that surrounded the referendum this past month ago. And I would just like to say that I want to be a member of this committee so that we can like work towards increasing transparency within finance, look at where our money is being allocated, and just trying to improve that rhetoric, trying to gain that trust back from our student body so that we can actively like hear their concerns and be able to like address those concerns and be able to actually implement what they want. I would also like to look into maybe the possibility of trying to allocate some of the finances towards maybe more scholarships. I think that would be a great way to encourage students and maybe relieve some of the burden of the tuition that we have. So yeah, thank you.
Questions for the senator? Senator Hayashi?
Thank you for your speech. And when you talk about allocating money to scholarships, are you mentioning that we as AUSG should establish a scholarship fund for students, or for us to donate some of our money, our student government money, to existing scholarship programs at AU?
So I don't think donating would be a good route to go through, but I do think that we can establish some kind of way to, maybe with the school, to like figure out a way to increase the amount of scholarships that we have.
Senator Flores?
So in terms of the scholarships, are you looking in terms of merit-based scholarships, or are you looking more towards financial aid scholarships?
Yeah, so I think merit-based would be a good way to go. I mean, obviously both would be amazing, but I think we don't have that many merit-based scholarships, and I think it's a good way to incentivize students and maybe bring in a more diverse student body from around the country.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. All right, so now we're going to move to Senator Abisakara, right? We'll get there. Give me a week.
All right. My name is Inari Abisakara. I'm a senator for the class of 2021. First off, I want to thank Senator Adams for the nomination. I do want to echo several things of what the previous senators have said. I think there's a lot of work that we can do regarding transparency. and where our money goes and how our input is factored into that. I think the committee can also collaborate and work with the Office of the Comptroller and the Budget Committee to advocate for financial aid and tuition initiatives. I do think that the tuition fee that is proposed when we sign up to go to AU should remain the same for our 4 years without unnecessary inflation and added fees being tacked on. And we can even work with CATA to push for transparency and oversight to hold organizations and their leaders accountable. And an interesting thing that I thought of was engaging with the student body directly and helping out our constituencies by planning and hosting personal finance management workshops or even panels to talk about merit-based scholarships, even outside of AU, because there's thousands and thousands available that people just don't know about. So serving as a resource and actively pushing out the information, I think, would help. And I hope you all give me a chance to serve, and I hope I have your support.
Other questions? Yeah, we have questions for the senator. Senator Hayashi.
Senator, when it comes to a flat rate tuition, so to speak, for incoming freshmen, who would you talk to in the administration when it comes to that issue?
Right. So it's definitely not a change that can be imposed overnight, but I think collaborating with several offices, including the Office of Campus Life, the Budget Committee, eventually maybe the Board of Trustees, I think that could get enacted. And it's not something that I expect will happen even next year, but it's a long-term plan I think we could all work on.
Senator Adams.
So first thing is I really like how you mentioned that you wanted to work with CATA. I think that's great. Also, just kind of to piggyback off of her. So last year in the 13th Undergraduate Senate, before you joined, there was a bill that was about having a flat rate tuition fee. And then that kind of ended up in the report, a finance report of student finances and what would be the best next solution. But yeah, I think that would be like a very long-term project that
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just right now getting the momentum and getting it started is what we should do.
Yeah, I think that's like a great like way to like kind of just like to try like to start this process. And I think like since they already had like the report sent out last year, like you can kind of like look back at that and see like what more to build on.
Do you have a question mark at the end of that?
Question mark. Sorry.
Other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, now we'll move to Senator Rodriguez.
Okay, how's everyone doing right now? I've like been in here for quite some time, so hope everyone's doing all right now. But for those who don't fully know me, my name is Wade Rodriguez. I'm a senator for Kansas Large, and I hope to be part of this committee because I want to be an advocate for those students who can't really afford to already come to the school, and just hope to be a leading voice with all the decision-making, the whole decision-making process, and doing everything for the better of all students. I know there was talk discussed about the fee increase and such, and I was astonished against the whole fee increase because that $11 means a lot to some other students. Sure, it may be a small amount, sure, you may make reactions like that, but I know for someone like me, I can't afford it. I'm already on need base and it's very hard, but I want to make the right decisions, and I also want to work on making sure that we can get everybody involved in that decision-making process, increasing that transparency, making sure we keep publishing on the daily. Whatever we spend, we put it on the website because the website doesn't routinely get updated like it should be. I think we should work on, you mentioned the meal plans. I know I've discussed in my past candidacy last year, right, ran for Senate, about meal plans and how there should be a consolidated Eagle Bug spending dollars. You work with Mark, and hopefully you can work with the administration on making sure we can get it done, because I think just having that sort of balance, instead of having two systems, having one, because we see with issues now with the $90 not being used at the third-party independent vendors now. I think that's something that should be much easier for everybody and should be just one thing that's better for in the long run. I know you also discussed fixed tuition, and I think that's good for every incoming class, especially that was discussed. And that's how every other school is done. You have GW, I think even Georgetown may have done as well. And while it may be a long-term process, I think in the long run, it'll be better for all the students too. And it might carry in the retention rate as well. But also, if we can balance the budget and help allocate that towards some of the student media projects, AUCC, because I know there's discussion about the, how we're spending our money. I think if we can look at what is wasteful spending and actually push, how should I say it? If we're able to give some of that back to AUCC and Student Media Board, I think that increases trust with AUSG and also just the entire process with how we're spending everybody's money. That's right.
All right. Questions for the senator? Senator Zitzman.
I'm wondering, and this is going to just be like a general comment too, how would you approach an issue where you go into something wanting to advocate for it, like a fixed tuition or whatever other financial strategy? How would you approach something like that if you discover through further research that the solution that you went in supporting actually turns out to have adverse effects like increasing prices in ways that you didn't anticipate?
Yeah, well, research is always the best thing. And once I see everything and once I'm able to be more knowledge in topics, especially that I don't have access to a lot of it, I think it definitely changes my opinion because I'm very easy when it comes to negotiating on ideas like that, and I'm very understandable. And if I see if there is also adverse effects from that, I think it definitely makes a difference. And I'm always open to changing my mind and very open and want to discuss on those issues. But it's also what's for the better of the student as well, and what can be done to make sure students are always getting the best. Even if we can't do it for them, I think just us trying makes the best difference.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. And how do you pronounce it?
Menashe.
Menashe, okay. Senator Menashe, you have the floor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Savannah Menashe. If you haven't already met me yet, thank you, Senator Flores, for nominating me for this position. And I am the senator for the Cogat School of Business. I would like to be part of this committee because as a voice for the students of Cogat specifically and the entire AU community as a whole, I feel that financial transparency is essential to the operation of a university and just a business as a whole, because I've learned about this in my various business courses. I just feel like we, as an AU community, have the right to know how AUSG's money is being allocated to various financial areas. And I haven't had the chance to take a finance class yet, but I will be taking one next semester. So I feel like the knowledge that I gained through that, and I'm also taking various accounting courses, could really be beneficial to this committee as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for the senator? Senator Hayashi?
What specific issue would you like to personally address on the special finance?
I feel like the issue of, again, as multiple people have said, just the large amount of money that has been allocated to founders table, and how we can possibly more effectively allocate money to other areas, such as people have mentioned scholarships or other more academic areas as well.
Other questions, Senator Zitzman?
I might have this wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, you're in case, right? So could you just elaborate on if that is the case? Correct me if I'm wrong. Obviously, but if that is the case, like what do you?
Well, I was kind of involved with case last year. That's not really the case this year. I tried to get involved, but I didn't. The communication was just scattered last year, so it was hard for me to get involved. But I definitely feel like your work with case and financial transparency and just advocating for students with financial needs is wonderful. And I feel like I would love to learn more about that and just get more involved with that topic as well.
Other questions, Senator Flores?
Thanks, Senator. So I know one of the purviews of the finance committee is looking into the divestment advocacy. Can you just speak to that and what you plan to do to work with the administration regarding that?
What is divestment?
For the fossil fuel divestment.
I actually do not know enough about that to speak on it intelligently, but thank you for asking that question. I just give an answer that I wouldn't be able to back up, so.
Other questions? Seeing none, thank you. We will move into voting. All right, so how this is going to work is you have all 8 names here. You're going to write your 6 choices on the ballot, and then I'll take a few minutes to tally everything. What? You're so right. I forgot about that. Oh, thank you. No, you're good. I'm jumping the gun a little bit. Yeah, so we will now move into debate. Is there any discussion on membership? Senator Sellinger, yeah, Sellinger.
So I think all the communities are very tough time deciding logistics and issues. However, I want to speak about Tom Kenneth. I know Tom personally and through Senate. He's been really helpful throughout this whole process, and he understands a lot about finance. I've done his PhD right for comptroller last year. It seems to have a really great concrete as to what you would do as a comptroller. So I was kind of super that he also areas because he has some great ideas. And he is also in he's a double major. Yeah, he's a double major with SAS. So I think he would be a really beneficial choice to have.
Other points of discussion? Senator Flores?
For me personally, my knowledge of Senator Manachi is just obvious because of her senator for COGA. Obviously, we need to acknowledge that COGA, given that they are a business school, a great deal of actually their entire population rather, is affected particularly with finances, and also they want to learn more about finances. So I think it'd be very beneficial if we have their representative, their senator on the finance committee to accomplish that, and then for all the other schools as well.
Other points of discussion? Senator Flores?
And then in terms of Senator Rodriguez's nomination, I know him through our SBA leadership program. He serves on the steering committee for that program. Community or communications coordinator. Okay. And so his role is that involves really building connections with the entire community, not only with the SBA leadership, but also with the entire AU community. So I think to have someone from that perspective and that type of background on the finance committee is crucial, especially because a lot of what the issues the finance committee deals with involves the morale that students have towards the USG. So having someone who has experience with dealing with that morale through his position on the steering committee of the SBA leadership program would be very beneficial, and I will support him for that position.
Senator Zitzman.
Stay as impartial as I can because I'm happy chair of the committee, and I think any of the 6 out of 8 that we've nominated will make good members. So I'm excited about that. But I will just say that I think with our agenda this year about transparency and reform coming out of the finance committee that everyone has talked about, but we need a good mix of people. New people with new ideas and new perspectives because that's obviously necessary for reform and transparency, and also balancing that out also with experience so that we can kind of channel everyone's ideas and perspectives into the most efficient, effective manner possible. So, like I said, I think from everyone, the limited information I've gotten from the speech seems good. And I will say that having worked with Jacob and Tom before on the finance committee, they were both 13th Senate and in general student government. Those are the only ones I've really worked with. I think they would be good too.
Other discussion? Senator Hayashi.
I think it's really important for the finance committee to address everything from tuition to dining to the student activity fee, because the university, as we all know, is up for, the university's budgetary cycle is up for renewal after the spring semester. And what this special committee on finance advocates for and does for student government and advocates on behalf of the students to the administration, I think it's really important for us to get all of those issues addressed and to bring all of our unique perspectives regardless. And I love for us as a special committee to also work with CATA, work with other committees to ensure that student government has a good relation with the administration and also with the students.
Other discussion? Senator Flores.
And then in terms of Senator Robinson, Max Robinson, or actually both Senator Robinson, in terms of their candidacy for the committee, it's really unique because you have Senator Jacob Robinson who has a depth of experience having served in the USG and in his various capacities. So he will obviously bring that sort of experience to the committee. And in terms of Senator Max Robinson, he offers that fresh perspective, not only being a freshman senator, but also being the representative for the freshman class. And also, as he previously mentioned, these issues were specifically outlined in his campaign policy, having ran as senator. And so he cared about these issues even before he was ever nominated to this committee. So I think that's very important, and both would make excellent choices for the committee.
Other discussion? Seeing none, we will close debate and move to vote without objection. Hearing none, all right. All right, yeah, so again, you can list up to 6 names, you can list less if you want. Also be mindful of the double Robin in the room. I would add first names just in case you forget a B, because I can change things. But yes, again, you can write up to 6, but you can write less if you please. You know, if someone does not have a ballot.
Trevor, can we get one more?
Yeah.
There's one here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can do first thing.
Just in case.
Is anyone done?
It's true.
We're almost
Too
there.
close there. Like the dog.
Yeah.
That's. Oh, there's. I think he like is just choosing. I think he is paying attention. Extra.
Yeah, I could have done origami. You had to ask me to make a swan.
All right, this is definitely going to take a few minutes.
Do I have time to take part in that?
For what?
Do I have time to take part in this?
You honestly may.
Okay,
I would just go for it.
thank you.
Yes.
The result. That's where. That was cool, right? That was neat, that was fun.
It went in a very, very. I know, I really, honestly, like, in a few months, right? Oh, I don't. No, I mean, I don't wanna put it on the election. I want to have it like sooner than even. Like, of course I remember that, yeah, of course I remember that. Not a lot of other people do, but, yes, I do. That was fun, they really feel like they have a chance, and, good for them, I worked out for them, they.
Wait, really?
Yeah. I don't know, he's really.
Yeah.
I mean, he
The basics, yeah.
he has a lot of money, he's really throwing a lot of his own money into it, he thinks he can really do something, so it's fine. He's, yeah. I
told you as part of it was to do it before the midterm. And really endorse a lot of people that you know, people who then took office now. So I'm not saying they're going to endorse it, I'm just saying that was the smart thing, especially like state law, states that's what we have, especially in Iowa, especially.
Yeah.
Really he is. Yeah. Oh, that's that. Okay, because I think I know what to do, so. Bobby being like that. Bobby not having a backpack, more likely than not, but never. No, my house. They were talking about now he's gonna be probably chairman. I mean, I don't think he's that great. That'd be cool if he was, you know, I mean, if he make any kind of. She wouldn't count. John. Yes, you should do that. I know, why would they ever just? Yeah, definitely makes sense, right? Just stop counting, stop counting.
All right. So our members that were elected to the Finance Committee are Senator Max Robbins, Senator Jacob Robbins, Senator Luthra, Senator Abisakara, Senator Rodriguez, and Senator Menashe. Congratulations. All right. So that takes us through all of that. Is there any other new business for the Senate? Cool. Moving to old business. No old business. Moving to public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we will move to good of the order. First, the executives for the good of the order. All executives are actually, no, I do have some updates for them. Vice President Najafi says that she wants to remind you or encourage you to attend the barbecue basketball game. I think that's on Wednesday. It's There's going to be a large like tailgate kind of thing. First like 50 people that show up get like a shirt. It's like a collaboration between student government, possibly the RHA. I think the Interfraternity Council and Panhellenic Councils are also co-sponsoring. There's like a lot of groups doing this all together, so I encourage you to attend that. I think it's like the start of our playoff season or something like that, but I can't remember specifically. President Fernandez wants to emphasize and encourage all of you to show up. So I don't know if you saw or not, but on Tuesday, we're doing AUSG Finance Roundtable open discussion thing. I think it starts at, I want to say 6:30, but check the Facebook event, check the email that she sent out. Attend that, be present, both to ask questions and engage and understand where a lot of our finances are going. And I know a lot of you talked about that today, so I think this would be really good for you to show up, but also encourage, your friends and anyone else who had concerns with student government transparency with our finances to also show up and ask the questions. I'll be there. President Fernandez will be there. Hopefully, most, if not all, the directors of the programming boards will be there to talk about their budgets. So that's the goal. So please show up to that, share it on Facebook, let people know. That's it for executives. Senate for the good of the order. Any senators for the good of the order? Senator Zitzman.
Congratulations, everybody. Who's in chair now for our finance committee. I'll correspond with all of you and set up a meeting time. We all sign disclosure agreements to work. I'm gonna agree with Val. So that transparency table is a good to go to. I'm glad now we can start now forward getting on with the graduacy. So.
Senator Adams.
Also, I know ad hoc committees and an ad hoc committee we had last year was for environmental sustainability. So I just wanted to like if anyone was interested in having that again. Like yeah, like everyone is interested in having that again, like
Senator Robbins.
I just wanted to say, wait, which one?
Jacob Robbins.
We'll fix that. I just wanted to say thank you for everybody today, also for electing me to serve on the special committee of finance. I really appreciate that. I'm looking forward to working hard and serving everybody. I just want to say these meetings usually take long, but today I think we have a lot of good questions. I just want to say once again, I'm really looking forward to working with everybody. You all bring such great energy. You all ask such great questions. I can't wait to really begin our work. And the third thing I just want to say is it's going to rain tomorrow. Be careful. No one likes a soggy shoe, so just be careful. That's all. Thank you.
Other senators, Senator Flores.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for supporting as the chair for the Student Rights and Resources Committee. Please let me know if you need anything at all. I will be holding additional office hours in addition to my standard weekly office hours as senator. So please feel free to reach out at any time. Let me know how clear my committee is.
Senator Jackson.
So first off, I want to say thank you to everyone. And I want to say thank you to Annalisa as well. I know she would have made a great chair as well, so anyone that would have her also makes a smart decision. But I also wanted to, I can announce something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if this was mentioned earlier, but we're in my hall for my hall council of RHA, ASG thing, but we're doing a multicultural food event, and we're trying to hold a multicultural food event. And I know we all come from very diverse backgrounds. So if anyone has any suggestions, these are the type of things that I think we should be promoting. But if anyone has any suggestions for me, or places where to get food or anything like that, or even cultural pamphlets, because we want to educate as well as speak, people. So please just reach out to me. So thank you.
Senator Hayashi.
So thank you to my fellow senators for electing as chair on the committee for campus life and student life, because I think it's really important that American University definitely first improve its retention rate when it comes to retaining first-year students carrying over into their sophomore years. Because I noticed that a lot of my friends and a lot of my classmates from freshman year are no longer here. They're at another state school or they transferred out. And President Burwell at her strategic plan update last month actually mentioned that American University's retention rate has stayed flat has not changed over the past 5 years. And for the next 5 years, I hope that this university can be one that we are all proud of, that we have school spirit, and I do encourage you all to show up to the basketball game against George Mason. And also, I believe that collaboration between the administration, student government, and the students is really important. And I think that all committees, all senators should engage, interact with members of the administration and your fellow students. Just ask, talk to people, and get to learn how we as an undergraduate senate can improve American University and make it an institution we are proud to attend.
Other senators for the good of the order. Senator Jenkins.
A question on moving the meetings later in the evening.
Yeah.
I don't know if I received like a follow-up meeting or email.
Yeah, so I put that out there because I was looking for people to let me know, and not many people informed me of anything. So I was actually going to talk about that. I'll get that to it in a second after any other senators. Senators for the good of the order. Senator Hayashi.
Just one last thing. Also, I'm working closely with the speaker on creating an ad hoc committee on dining services at American University. So I hope the speaker can address that in his good of the order.
Other senators for the good of the order. Cool. All right, a couple things. Yes, as a reminder, I'll send out the doodle poll later this evening. So sign up for that. First come, first serve for office hours, and office hours will start this week. So whatever time you sign up for, we'll start there. Be sure to come to the office, sign in. If you want to go somewhere else, just take the sign with you for roaming office hours. If not, you can just sit there, chill, do some work, do some homework. Promote it on your social media. Let people know, where you are. Try to engage with constituents. 2, I'll send out the Google form also in that email with your ability to give your preference for standing committees, and also tell me if you want to serve on DEI and the ad hoc for dining services. Also, you can suggest other committee or commission or caucus ideas if you so please. Feel free to reach out to me on those. Yes, to Senator Hayashi's point, there is going to be, so far we do or will have an ad hoc committee on dining services. That's part of the legislative order. And so that will be enacted tomorrow. If, like I said, if you want to do another committee or something, just talk to me, sit me down with it. The only requirements I have are, you need 3 people interested in it, and you need like 1 or 2 goals or responsibilities that the committee is going to pursue. That's all I need, and then I can write it up and put it into, make it official. For committees, I'll try and get those established. So please fill out the Google form as fast as possible. That way I can assign people to committees, and then we can get people meeting. And on the note of the meeting times, I'll open this up to the body right now. We started at 2 today. Before we've met at 1. I know some people were talking about moving it back. What are people's input, ideas, things like that? I'm open to flexibility. Yeah, Senator Adams. Senator Jenkins.
I would prefer something later, perhaps 5.
Okay. Senator Robbins.
I believe that I understand that a lot of upperclassmen usually have to do the same today. I found that freshmen senators, whether they are for religious
schools or at large with that 22 don't have generally other things there the data, so we are much more flexible moving it back. And as the sense currently comprised for all freshmen, just because one thing that's been made, I think that freshman centers would prefer to be a little later in the day, whether it's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It's said 5. I'm fine with that. We want anything that's just a little later than 1.
Senator Rodriguez.
Yeah, I don't mind it being at like 2 o'clock-ish, because for me, I have meetings later on in the day after this, so it makes it much more difficult if it were to be towards later in the evening, but if it's around this time, usually don't add if we're, depending on how the meeting sessions go, I think this general area of time.
Senator Abisakara.
Yeah, a lot of students are, I don't know how many of you are going to be like, but a lot of chapter meetings are 7 or 8. So I think 5 is a bit too late to start, but I would be open to like moving it to like 2 or 3.
Okay, Senator Zitzman.
So, a couple of things. First, I don't think we should frame this discussion as something like one group of people, freshmen per se, can meet at a certain time. So therefore, we should it should try to be as consensus-based as possible. So, from what I've heard, no one has said that like they can't do early afternoon. I know like we're all Saturday night, and then we have to wake up and arrive on campus at 1 p.m. So it is 1 p.m., but it's also after Saturday night. So beyond that, I would be interested to see if anyone has like a problem with Sunday early afternoon. And then my second point, aside from it being consensus-based, is that I think the later we put the meetings, the more that's going to threaten the discussions that we have in here in terms of their quality, because sometimes these meetings can go for 3 hours. I would say that's a medium time for these meetings, 4 hours on the longer side. And if we start in the late afternoon, 4 or 5, it's gonna be dark outside, and we're gonna be hungry for dinner, and it's going to be nighttime, and we're going to have homework due on Monday. And that's all going to encourage us to really be very short with our discussion, and that's going to hamper the advocacy we do. So I think there are tangible harms that would come from putting a meeting too late.
Senator Newlander.
Yeah, I agree. As I get hungrier, so I think one, got lunch before dinner after.
Senator Jacob Robbins.
Well, I just want to add on to what Senator Zisman was saying. I know that Saturday night Live is on pretty late, and I don't know what activities you may do on Saturday night. That's what I do. I don't know about you. But, whatever. But in any event, I would say that if for the most part, like 2 or 3. I'll say this was the first time I remember us having a meeting around like 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually really I did like that, but I agree with what Bobby was saying. Senator was saying that I think the later it goes, the harder it would be for us to really engage. And also remember that we want to be having constituents come, and with Greek life being later, or also it being later on a Sunday when we're just doing Monday might not be the best possibility.
Senator Jacobs.
I'm just gonna say, I think I was one of the people that was originally talking about going to like 5 or something, but I think 2 worked pretty well. Just want to throw that out there.
Other senators for this topic? Senator Hayashi.
Mr. Speaker, I believe 1 or 2 o'clock is a reasonable time, and also I think, keeping Senator Jacob Robbins' comments in mind, I also think that possibly, if it's feasible for the semester, for us to move back to the main campus, to move our meetings somewhere on the main campus rather than East Campus, just so that we improve the accessibility for, Senator Butler ran for SP senator on the premise of making these meetings more accessible to all students and for members of the public to attend. I think by moving it back to the main campus, moving it to Kogod or MGC, I believe that the Senate can be more accessible. And also, if this meeting goes long, we can always go down, grab a bite, and it's a more centralized location for us.
Okay. Senator Jacob Robbins.
Well, first of all, you could just refer to me as Senator Jacob. I think not Jacob, but
I like Jacob Robbins. Max Robbins and Jacob Robbins.
The second thing I want to say is to add on to what Curtis was saying, as Senator for Cass, of course, I'm gutted that we'd be moving it from DMTI, but I think that would probably be a good move, a good course of action to move it to somewhere where it's more centrally located. Just wanted to throw my 2 cents there.
Okay, I'll talk with Alex and see if there's some better openings on main campus for the rest of the semester. I know definitely we're going to move next semester, but for the semester, it may be a little iffy. Okay, so I'm hearing like right now is probably a good time, but I'm also open to compromise. So if I gave the options of either 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, all of those in favor of starting at 2 o'clock, please raise your hand. All those in favor of starting at 3 o'clock, please raise your hand. Are you okay with 2 o'clock? No, like.
What about 2:30?
I hate starting on the half an hour.
That's right.
Is 2 o'clock okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
2:30.
No, I hate starting on the half hour. We'll start.
We also have Sarah before.
Mm.
I don't know. I say we do 2:30.
So is 2:30 then an okay option?
Everybody's okay with 2.
Yeah.
2. Okay. All right. We'll keep it at 2 then. Allow y'all to go to brunch and stuff because that was the one thing I hated last year was the fact that, CRP would start at 12 and I wouldn't be able to go to TDR brunch. Say whatever you want about TDR brunch. I mean TDR, but TDR brunch is good on the weekend. Cool.
No mimosas.
I'm not 21. Are you kidding? Okay, cool. So thank you for today's meeting. We're done with the technical stuff. So really start hammering on the policy ideas. Reach out to me if you want any help. And I look forward to seeing what you guys do in this upcoming semester. And we are adjourned.